It was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be like
forward.
a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have sex
Corrupt
and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
John Biamgisha from Uganda.
Rita Desai, Cape Town.
My name is Kanyisa. I'm from the Eastern Cape.
My name is Yasin Samuel.
I'm doing my PhD in computer science.
Wow. She has those tendencies.
I called her nerd earlier. She didn't want to
She's
be a
my
nerd.
token PhD friend.
Well, I'm doing disability studies postgrad now at med school.
So I'm doing electrical engineering.
I'm actually a third year student doing a Bachelor of Social Sciences in environmental and geographical science.
My accident happened when I was 26 on the 1st of April. I broke my neck. I'm a tetraplegic, which means basically mobility from the chest down is gone.
I'm partially sighted, so I was pretty much at normal sight, whatever normal is. That's a tough word, until I was like 12, 13, and then actually as soon as I hit puberty, you know, like the whole thing when you start growing boobs and all those other girly things, like keratoconus hit at that moment. It's like a degenerative disorder, and just slowly my sight has deteriorated.
You actually all notice I have a speech disability, or in generally terms, stuttering.
I'm blind. I could say maybe 99% blind. I lost my sight when I was 19 due to leukemia, and that was about 13 years ago in March.
I think I've always been a very anxious person, but like the moment I started, my sight deteriorated, I became super anxious because I was just like anxious about crossing the road, anxious about, what's going to happen, how far is my sight deteriorating, schoolwork was hard. And that brought in like hopelessness because I didn't know anyone else who had sight problems. And it was more like bring on the depression and also with school. So it's more like the more the sight gets worse, the depression comes in and the anxiety. And yeah, the depression and anxiety is quite deep because it's caused by so many things. But yeah, that's been my experience. And it's been very hard being at university, having a sight issue.
The transition from seeing to not seeing, I was getting ready to go to university to do medicine and obviously couldn't. And that's when I turned to a career in computer science because there is speech software for computers. So like it can talk and you can use it and access pretty much everything. So I took that route because it was what I could do. It was at a level of I'm not going to do what I want, but what I can. And well, it's turned out great. I love what I do and it's going well.
For persons with a disability, I think it's very different from person to person based on how you were brought up. I think that our society is, my immediate world is a very open-minded one because my parents are teachers, my sister's going to become a teacher, so they understood what society and different people are like, man. So for me, it was more my internal adaptation to my disability in terms of how do I feel about it? Am I ready to face it? And my biggest thing was that when my accident happened, I could have died. You understand? And that blessing that God gave me was, here's life. Here's your second chance. Am I going to complain that I'm in a wheelchair and alive? No.
Just like you said, you could have died. Me, my family were more concerned about the cancer. Like it was, because that back then it was really bad. I was sick, I was bedridden. And like my mom was helping me out with pretty much everything, feeding, bathing, whatever. And it was more of, I just want to get back to be healthy, that I didn't really focus on the fact that I couldn't see. And back then we thought the sight was temporary, cure the cancer and the sight will come back. And so when we found out it was permanent, I always tell people that the biggest blessing in my life has been my family because people think, you're strong. If I lost my sight like you, I would have killed myself. Yeah, I've gotten so many of those comments. I just walked into a road and let a car run over me and something. But I think sometimes when you get something devastating, you need something more to live for beyond yourself. And that is what my family was for me. My parents said, whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter about the price. If you want to use some crazy equipment that is only available in the US or whatever, we'll get it to you. So tell us what you want. So my life became whatever I wanted. And so how do you then sit back in a corner and cry all day and complain that, I don't have my sight, when there are people saying whatever it takes to make your life as normal as possible will make it happen. And it's like the support system from my siblings, from my parents, the love, like you feel it in each and everything. It was a challenge to me. Like, I need to make this worth it. They are sacrificing a lot of time and energy and emotion. I can't hold them back. If I don't achieve anything, it will be my fault, because they have basically put everything before me and said, choose what it is you want.
So my parents found out, or basically noticed my at a tender age of about 6 years old. They actually sent me to numerous speech therapists, even in psychologists and generally, and it's a bit technically stutterers, they are basically they are seen, but not actually heard. So that is something that I always try in hiding, because no one actually noticed that I stutter. So I feel that it's more tough for me, trying to like a simple example is to socialize, for the past over 10 years, starting primary school into high school, speaking was, of course, for me extremely tough.
For me, when I started, my sight started deteriorating. Like, it started off just like not being able to see in class. It was very scary for my parents, because my dad had been retrenched from work in 1997. And in the Eastern Cape, if you lose your job in the government, you will never get another job again. There's no jobs. And we were working on my mom's salary, and my mom was working in home affairs with taking care of 5 children. So the first thing my family had was fear, because just from inception, where are they going to get money for glasses? So as my vision started deteriorating, like I remember in school, my teacher took me to the optometrist and said they will pay for me. Then where I was diagnosed with keratoconus, it added more fear, because it meant even more money. I remember the second time I went to see the optometrist, I had a retina detachment, which is basically like your retina's coming out, and you have to do an emergency operation. And the first thing was that the closest specialist that could do it was 2 hours away. My mom was working in an office with 5 kids. So it was that thing where it was very hard for my family to accept. There was a lot of denial, because accepting that I'm disabled would be accepting all the financial and the burdens. I think when I think about my family, just everyone felt powerless about the situation, and they went into denial, and I ended up not being able to support me because of that emotion, and it was very hard for me because, like I said, I just hit puberty, like you were just trying to deal with or your body changes, 1 minute you're worried if the boys like you, and the next minute, your sight is deteriorating. You have to start seeing specialists. You are falling behind in schoolwork. So I think it's very hard then when you, that's why I always talk about being a black woman and disabled and being poor. One of the big things is that it's a very hard journey because there is just, it's so hard for your family to support you because for themselves, like one thing I noticed for my mom, and I've talked to her about this, because before I just used to just have anger towards her, be like, why weren't you there for me? And she just tells me that I was scared. That's what my parents said. I was scared. I did not know what to do. I was in so much, sorry, I'm going to get emotional now. She was like, I was in so much debt. And now you were sick. I didn't know what to do. And I think, I always cry. And I think that's the one thing that, that I'm pro disability rights in the villages, because it's so hard for young people who start developing disability to have support because the whole family is not in an emotional place. There's no education about disabilities. It's just a burden. So yeah. So yeah, and I love how you guys speak about the experience that support and just being in a different circumstance. It makes such a difference in your mental health. And it makes such a difference in the transition, Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I think as disabled people, we need to do more. We should stop waiting for able-bodied people in power to give us the power. We need to take our power. Why? Because the four of us here are intellectuals. We are going to one day, electrical engineering, a doctorate in computer science. Who would have thought someone with a visual impairment will ever get a PhD in computer science? Does it make sense? Does it add up? But the only reason why you're going to get there is because you persevered.
But
So
I also find that discrimination against disability is like discrimination against anything else. It's based on prejudice and bad information and just plain ignorance, because you apply for a job and someone tells you something as petty as, what if you want to go to the bathroom? Now, what do we do with you? It's not about, can you do the job? It's just that we're going to have a blind person in the office and it's just going to be weird. So it's this sort of ignorance, and which shows that there are not enough people out there. And yes, like what you're saying, we need to be seen. But I can understand for people who are a bit shy because of the bad feedback they get. When you're put out there and you're constantly put down, you can only take so much. But yes, we need to become the new normal. Disability needs to stop being a thing, like it's abnormal to see someone who has, because it's so rare. It needs to be so normal, so accepted, and we're so integrated into the society that we can just participate like everybody else.
okay, my dream is to travel the world basically with my disability.
My dream is basically to be successful.
My dream is to be a success and then through my life help others.
My dream is to continue my activism for poor, black, disabled people in rural areas.
Yeah, Z, you should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong. You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong.
I'm a tetraplegic, which means basically mobility from the chest down is gone.
I'm partially sighted, so I was pretty much at normal sight, whatever normal is. That's a tough one. Until I was like 12, 13, and then actually as soon as I hit puberty, like the whole thing when you start growing boobs and all those other girly things, like keratoconus hit at that point.
Samuel?
I'm doing my PhD in computer science.
Wow. She has those tendencies.
Yeah.
Wow.
I called her nerd earlier. She didn't want to
She's
be a
my
nerd.
token PhD friend.
Well, I'm doing disability studies postgrad now at mid school.
So I'm doing electrical engineering.
I'm actually a third year.
It was a gun.
Not voting.
If we want to build our nation,
The problem with the Somalians,
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Be like
forward.
a horse with blinkers. Honestly, say I was about to have sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
John Biamgisha from Uganda.
Rita Desai, Cape Town.
My name is Kanyisa. I'm from the Eastern Cape.
My name is Yasin. Student. Doing a Bachelor of Social Sciences in environmental and geographical science.
My accident happened when I was 26 on the 1st of April. I broke my neck.
Moment, it's like a degenerative disorder, and just slowly my sight has deteriorated.
You actually all notice, I have a speech disability, or in generally terms, stuttering.
I'm blind. I could say maybe 99% blind. I lost my sight when I was 19 due to